Hi everyone. For those of you that are new in the group and haven't seen me, met me before, I'm Alex. So I'm the psychotherapist that is the moderator of the group. I'm the one that is replying to messages in the threads or in the inbox, and I'm the one that creates the content, and through the help of the group creates content based on what it is that parents in the group need. If you're watching, please say hello, because I can't see who's watching, and it is always nice to know who I'm talking to. Today we are continuing the theme of self-care and talking about our belief system. So how our belief systems may be working against us. So it's quite a theory-based live today. So I hope you don't mind that, but I'm hoping that it gives you a bit of food for thought to take away and explore your own belief system, and how, when it comes to taking better care of yourself in this instance, but in any other areas of your life as well, whether it's working with you or against you. So I'm calling it belief system, but when I did my training in psychotherapy, I trained in transactional analysis. I'll call that TA for short, because sometimes I kind of stumble as I say it. And in TA, the belief system is called a script. And I like that because I think we're quite familiar with a script, aren't we? So imagine a script for a movie or a script for a play. It has a beginning and it has a middle and an end. And that is very similar to the theory of script and our belief systems. So the theory of script is that between the ages of about 0 and 7, we, and some say, kind of as early as in the womb as well, we develop our beliefs about ourselves, about others, and about the world. So there's 3 different beliefs that we form, and that they are based on or developed from our experiences and our interactions with others and our attachments. The theory suggests that we figure out how to exist in our relationships, our environment, and how to get our needs met. So I think it was probably the last live I was talking about surviving and how quite extreme that can sound, but actually when you think of us being as young as newborn baby and in the womb, we need to be able to adapt to be able to survive, because as humans we are born into various different situations, be it living in houses to mud huts, living in a safe environment versus living in a very abusive or chaotic or unsafe environment. So we need to learn how to survive and get our needs met, and we do so really, really quickly, because that's what supports our survival ultimately, is that we need to learn quickly. So I guess when we think about other animals and how quickly they walk and can run from predators, that we're quite slow when it comes to that, but we're really good at being able to adapt to our environment. So, and often this works on a very subconscious level as well, because we're, as babies particularly, pre-linguistic. So we don't have a language, a narrative that flows with our belief system early on, and often then that's why they are out of awareness. This session isn't about kind of bringing all your beliefs into your awareness, because that takes a lot of time and effort. But I'd like to introduce the concept so that you can start to hold that in your mind as you stay in the group and develop other areas of yourself, but particularly at the moment as you start to explore and what it means to be more gentle and caring of yourself. So I've said that there's 3 different beliefs about ourselves, about others, and about the world. And we develop them, as I said, with attachments, relationships and experiences. And with regards to verbal communication, so sometimes our belief system is based on what we often hear, and what is said around us and to us, sometimes what we overhear. It is also, our belief systems and our script then is also developed on modelling. So what we see our primary caretakers doing, how we see them coping, how we see them getting their needs met and surviving. And based on our attachments as well, and how secure or insecure they are, and that we'll develop a belief system based on our ability to be in these attachments. Let's have a look at some examples. So if we look at beliefs about self and how they may develop, they might sound something like, I am not lovable, or I am not important, I am not safe. And you can see then that, or start to imagine what type of environment somebody would be living in if they had that belief system. And it's very sad, isn't it, to imagine that somebody would have a belief that they're not lovable or that they're not important. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a dramatic and abusive environment that that person lives in. It can be very subtle situations and events, and it's how they are perceived by the individual. So, for example, if somebody is growing up and they have parents that work a lot, so they are often with extended members of the family, or they're with a childminder quite often, depending on the infant's capacity and experience of that situation, they may come to a belief that they are not lovable, that parents prefer to spend time elsewhere, and when they're home maybe they're a little bit stressed because they've been working so much. So it doesn't have to be something quite dark and sinister. Beliefs about others then may be that others aren't trustworthy, or other people aren't safe, other people are too busy for me. And beliefs about the world may be the world is not a safe place, the world is scary, the world is unpredictable. And we often talk about in the lives, don't we, internal dialogue, so the voice that you hear inside your head. Our belief systems aren't always part of our internal dialogue because they're out of awareness. So when I say these things to you, it may be like, well, that is not a belief that I have of mine, and you're maybe saying that because it is not the words that you hear spoken in your internal dialogue. But because you don't hear the words doesn't necessarily mean that that is not part of your belief system. And like I say, it takes a lot of time and effort, often therapy, a lot of reading in a therapeutic context, to be able to develop an understanding of what you may have taken from your earlier experiences. So, I'm focusing on the years of 0 to 7 here, but what happens as a script does, and it has that beginning, the middle and the end, is that in the ages of 0 to 7, the theory suggests is that we've got all our belief system made up, and that as we start to develop biologically, as we get older, as we develop our own autonomy, as we develop our own sense of agency, that we can have an impact on the world and make changes, that we either reinforce our belief system or we update it. So if we come into contact with more nurturing people, for example, that enjoy being in our company, and we have had a belief system where we're not lovable or that we don't belong, we may update it because through interaction with other people, through explicit communication and through the actions that they show us, we may just think, change it on a subconscious level and be, more open to the idea that we are lovable, and start to change our perception about ourselves and about others and how relationships work in the wider context of the world. However, if we don't update our belief system as we start to grow older, young adulthood, teenage years, early 20s, and they can often, always, constantly be updated, what happens then is we start to reinforce them. And because they're out of awareness, what we do, because the way that our mind and body works is that it likes predictability and it likes familiarity. So we will seek out situations and people that reinforce our belief system. So imagine, if you've had unhealthy or unsafe early attachments, either because it was abusive or because it was inconsistent or because it was complex, that it is understandable then if we seek to reinforce that and stay within a predictable environment, that we might engage in unhealthy, unsafe and chaotic relationships when we're older. Not always. That doesn't always happen. I really enjoy being with a client and speaking about abuse or chaos or really not okay ways of being treated, but they are, with all of their heart, able to say that the relationship that I am in is accepting, is safe and is nurturing. It doesn't always have to be that way, but unless it is a risk that we encounter, that if we don't update negative beliefs, that we will, through human nature and the way that we work, seek to reinforce them because it's predictable and it offers us consistency, and it means that we don't have to work as hard at being in those relationships. So when it comes to self-care, and like last week in the live we spoke about the different parts of ourselves, we can know what we need to do to self-care. We may know that we work crazy hours. We may know that in order to be in relationship with people, we put our own needs on the back burner, or that we prioritise others, and that maybe that's not a healthy thing for us to do, or that we might sense some problems. But if our belief system is that we are not important, you can understand then how you would struggle to, on the deeper level, value yourself, and why then you may be engaging in those behaviours in the first place. It's quite common for people that don't value themselves, and that when that's part of the belief system, that they work really long hours, that they have contracts whereby you are signing to say that you'll work 37 hours a week, but you'll also do whatever the job requires of you. And I'm thinking, I was almost like having visions of clients passing my mind then of when that's been the case, because that facilitates us in some way. It allows us to stay comfortable. It allows us to deny parts of ourselves if we're working. If we're not feeling lovable or important, there's an element of emotional pain there. And so if we work all hours, then it means that we are able to still, on a deeper level, reinforce the belief that we are not important by putting our health at risk, for example. But it also means that we're too busy to sit with the pain, the thoughts, or the somethingness. Sometimes we don't always have, we're not always able to pinpoint where the pain and the discomfort comes from, are we? Unless we spend time understanding our early relationships and interactions, then they stay out of awareness. And like a computer program, you can shut it down on the screen, but the program may still be operating underneath, and it still may be tracking, your behaviour online, for example, or your purchasing patterns. And similar, our belief systems work like that, totally out of awareness. When we're making new relationships, we're sending, very subconscious communications to other people and their nervous systems and their bodies, kind of messages about ourselves, and we unknowingly, it seems, engage in patterns that we've been engaging in for the most of our lives. So what I want you to think about on the back of this live is, what were your early relationships like with your primary caretakers, be it your parents, step-parents, adoptive parents, foster carers, children's homes, extended family, teachers even. When we think about our parental figures, it's those people that guide us, that offer us hopefully safety and the reassurance. How attentive were they? How close did they allow you to feel? How expressive with regards to your emotion, your needs and wants did they allow you to be? When we think about our belief systems and how we get our needs met, then, more than statements like, I am not lovable, when we adapt, what happens is that we find a way to feel lovable. Like, I am loved when I do not feel, or I am loved when I put others before me. And if you think about the way that we engage in relationship with our children, when we praise them, I'm often what I try and communicate is the difference between conditional and unconditional forms of recognition. Being recognised for what you do and what you can offer is conditional. And if if that fits in line with our belief system of not being lovable, and we get recognition for being helpful or being a good girl and not crying and things like that, then I'll just cancel that message off. Then what we can do is that forms part of our belief system. If somebody or an infant isn't used to getting their needs met, but they realise that when they're ill, they get their needs met and they feel loved and they're able to nurture because their parent has the capacity in their frame and their belief system to be able to offer care and nurture and slow the pace down for the child when they're ill, then part of the belief system might be that in order for me to feel belonging, or in order for me to be important and have value, I need to be ill. How is this sitting with you? I can see, we've got a message. Hi, just let you know. You haven't missed me, I'm still here. So when it comes to, let's go back to the self-care thing then. So when you know what you need to do and the behaviours just aren't sticking, it's really good for us to think about what story we are telling ourselves. And it goes much, we can I know I'm important. Sometimes in my family I can feel unimportant, and that's because things go too fast. I might feel missed. I put out a request and it's not being heard properly and things like that, and it can tap into this kind of like being undervalued and not being and being unimportant. So I want you to just kind of try not to take it on face value, but think about how your interactions and your attachments and experiences at a younger age influenced what you think and feel about yourself. Stick with that belief for now, instead of going on about your beliefs about others and the world. Think about yourself and your value and your worth and how you get your needs met. Were you the clown? Were you the sensitive one? Were you the sensitive one but realised that your feelings and your needs weren't welcome, or that they didn't seem to serve you at home and with your primary caretakers? And as always, be gentle with yourself, because surfacing some things like this and bringing them to your awareness can be quite surprising and quite sad, and stir some very deep things that maybe through your own behaviours you've managed to distance yourself from. So be gentle, know where I am, I'm here, so you can always add messages, ask questions to the